This YCN segment is brought to you by LaValley Building Supply and Middleton Building Supply.
Welcome in, YCN Sports Talk. Jeremy Stout, Brett Franklin in this week. And Brett is joining us from ESPN Radio for the Upper Valley, 94.5 FM, 1230 AM, and 1400 AM. Brett, thanks for coming on.
Still waiting for your Christmas gift, Jeremy, but thank you for having me on.
And you can also tune into Brett's show every weekday from 12 to 1 on the radio and then on TV at 5 p.m. the replay. Brett, let's start with the Patriots. They have basically clinched the number one seed. I know there's mere formalities, beating the Jets. But that win against the Bills, I was just curious to see what your take on that. It was close for the first half, and then they pulled away. Which team should we worry about? Should we worry about the closeness of it, or, hey, this team just dominated when they wanted to?
No, I think we expected the Bills to kind of give this one a game, if you will, and give them credit. I mean, they hung around. It was just until the second half where the Patriots really poured it on that really started to separate themselves. But this week, Bryce Petty's in at quarterback. I know they kind of gave New Orleans a game there, or
Right.
they gave the Chiefs, who they played this week,
Yes,
this past
yeah.
week. Either way, Patriots will roll, and of course signing James Harrison. I'll be interested to see if he gets in, if some of the newer additions get some reps this week as well.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about because obviously the news coming down yesterday, and it was kind of happened really fast. James Harrison clears waivers. He's a free agent. Patriots have him in for a visit, sign him that day. Belichick saying, hey, we're focused on the Jets. We're not worried about his ties to the Steelers. But do you think in the back of their mind, never hurts to have somebody in their back pocket?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to kind of, hey, what would they run here on a third and short? But I think actually Harrison gives you some value. The guy's only played 42 snaps this entire season. It's been a healthy scratch for most of the year, and he's obviously hasn't been too happy with the way things have gone with Mike Tomlin. And it was weird. The Steelers were like, well, we want to save him for later on in the season. Then they just straight up cut him a week before the season happens, and it's a fresh body for the Patriots, and that can't hurt at this point in the season.
Right, and they're very thin at the position, defensive line and the end position.
And it's not a position where you really have to do a ton, right? You're an edge rusher,
Right.
get the quarterback.
Right.
Linebacker, cornerback, safety, that's a whole different thing. So it's a position where, I don't want to say you don't have to think, but you know what the end result's going to be.
And pretty low risk going into $1 million prorated for whatever he's going to get paid this 1 week.
For 5 games, potentially.
Right, and then potentially in the playoffs. So I think it's a good move, but you're right. It's not just, we want the intel from the Steelers. I mean, they need bodies. They need players, and you never know. I mean, he might have a resurgence. He's, like you said, fresh. So I think it's a good move, and as always, it could come down to that matchup in the conference championship, and that would be something pretty
Would it
interesting.
surprise you if he had like 3 sacks in that game? I mean, it's just a typical
really.
Patriot situation. Bring a guy, another team's trash, you're gold. Wouldn't surprise me.
And speaking of the playoffs, so they'll have the divisional round, they'll have the bye in the first round. Who do you think they should least want to face in that first game? It looks like it's probably going to be, the Chiefs, maybe Jaguars, unless there's an upset. Is one of those teams scare you more than anybody?
I think it's Baltimore, right? Just historically, it's always
Joe
been
Flacco will pull
Baltimore.
something out,
I mean, I don't think this is as good of a Ravens team as we've seen
Right.
in years past. But just historically, you always worry about that. Who would I love for the Patriots to face? I'd love a rematch with the Chiefs in Foxborough after that Week 1 disaster.
And, I think that Week 1, it'll give some fuel, and Belichick will say, well, hey, that was 16 weeks ago. It doesn't really matter.
But he does use that.
He'll still have the
former
tape.
Patriot players have said it, that he will sift through the papers, he will sift through interviews and use things that other teams say or, potentially frame and try to use it as motivation. So he does do that.
And right now it's Patriots. It's looking like Patriots and Steelers in the AFC Championship. I know we might be getting ahead of ourselves. Are we talking Steelers getting ahead of ourselves without Antonio Brown, or when he comes back he's questionable?
That's a big piece that they're missing. I mean,
exactly.
They rolled over the Texans. We knew that was going to happen. Le'Veon Bell has kind of been hit or miss in the playoffs, and what do you get from Ben Roethlisberger? Is he healthy at all? That bye week might be big, but if they don't have Antonio Brown, that is a big piece missing.
Okay, so who is your pick? If you go to the AFC Championship, if it's not Patriots, Steelers, who might have that chance to maybe upset? Probably the Steelers. I mean, I think the Patriots will put them in there. If it's not the Steelers, who is it? Is it the Jaguars? Do you believe? I know it's Blake Bortles, but that defense, other than last week, has been good.
Not buying into Blake Bortles. Really hard for me to do. They've had a really nice season. if the Patriots don't win this thing, I know it's kind of a cop-out. It's it'd be very. It would be a really big trouble for the Patriots if they could not win it this year.
Yeah, it would be a huge letdown, and I agree with you. You know, we've talked throughout the whole year, and basically at the beginning of the year, it was Super Bowl or bust, and not a lot has changed. I mean, they've struggled to get to where they are at times, losing a couple games at the beginning of the year, defense struggling, but, you know, they're here where we thought they were, in the driver's seat for the playoffs. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll jump over to the NFC side. Obviously, the Eagles clinching the #1 seed, but they don't have a quarterback. We'll talk about them and see if they can make it to the Super Bowl as well. You're watching YCN Sports Talk.